Hi guys, it is a nasty, cold, rainy, good God, water flowing down the streets of the desert here in the end times in Truth or Consequences, Mexico, where we're under a flash flood warning here in the desert on this gloomy Friday morning in the end times. I believe we're up to about November 4th, 2016, I think. Anyway, so Friday is the day that I bring you my ecological meltdown roundup rant. I've got my Get Whacked for Wildlife t-shirt to celebrate, where I just simply open up my email box to get all the messages from my friends at the Washington Post. Those eco-Nazis, Manga Bay and Center for Biological Diversity, who have simply been going around the planet the past week looking at how this planet is heading directly into a burning lake of fire. What are we, 4 days before we decide between the frying pan and the fire to lead us into the apocalypse? And while the rest of the world is watching Leonardo DiCaprio tongue ramming John Kerry to save the planet, the Washington Post is on the case. And I'm going to lean over and I hope this picture now, because it's going to throw off the focus. This is how I started my day, guys. I turn on my computer to look at the Washington Post email, and I see a picture of Barack Obama, that little maggot from China, and the head of the United Nations in a photo op as the lead-off story from Washington Post Energy and Environment page from something called G20 2016 China, from Paris to Hangzhou, climate response in action. Unfortunately, my bullshit detector button is out in my truck, and I'm not going to walk through the thunderstorm to go get it. So let's see how this trio of planet savers, what is the story behind this? Oh, there's many versions of this story all over the mainstream media. This is the Washington Post spin on it. The world is racing to stop climate change. Already I need the bullshit detector button, but the math still does not add up. A new UN report underscores just how off course the world is to hit its climate goals. Many versions of this story that this absolutely unadulterated horseshit UN Paris Climate Pact is, according to the UN itself, completely full of shit. The UN giving an F to the members of the UN, such as Barack Obama, that little maggot from China, and Leonardo DiCaprio are getting a big grade of F so far in saving the planet. Okay, from the UN to the Arctic Ocean. The loss, here is how much of the Arctic you are personally responsible for melting. There you go. The loss of sea ice in the Arctic has been accelerating, and eventually there will be virtually no ice in the Arctic in late summer, and don't forget the middle of winter. All right, what the election outcome will really mean for climate and energy. How many times have I had this rant and we're still hearing it? It is the difference between the frying pan of Hillary Clinton or the fire of Donald Trump. What it will really mean for the climate is under Hillary Clinton, the planet might have 5 more years than of life than under Donald Trump. That's the difference. That is what this election will really mean in terms of climate. Here's the latest spin on the collapse of the coral reefs, as global warming could be breaking up this 200 million year old relationship. I was talking 65 million, no, 200 million years. Many versions of this next story, also from the UN. 1 in 7 children globally lives with toxic air. UNICEF findings show some of the planet's most vulnerable inhabitants face the worst environmental health threats. No shit, Sherlock. So what I love it, so we have a picture of this little planet-eating bundle of joy, I guess over there in China or India, wearing a mask, a dust mask, and then at the bottom of the story on energy in the environment, we have recommended for you to your health. There you go. And we have a picture of a little planet-eating bundle of joy getting vaccinated. I guess this little, this adorable little planet-nibbling bundle of joy is being vaccinated against toxic air and climate change. Yes. Can you imagine what that little fucker has to look forward to in his lifetime, starting off with a needle in his ass, starting off his journey through a collapsing planet. But we're going to, I've been kind of giving Center for Biological Diversity kind of short shrift here. Let's see what they're up to. Oh, this is their spin on that bullshit that went down in Oregon a few days ago. A stunning, dangerous verdict after Oregon standoff. Like almost everyone, we were stunned by last week's not guilty verdicts for the Bundy brothers. Good God, where is my bullshit detector button? For the Bundy brothers and other defendants following their 41-day armed takeover of that National Wildlife Refuge in Oregon. Quote, "This is an extremely disturbing verdict for anyone who cares about America's public lands, the rights of Native people and their heritage, and a political system that refuses to be bullied by violence and racism." It is a political system run by violence and racism, and this latest verdict is the latest evidence of that. The Bundy clan and their followers peddle a dangerous brand of radicalism aimed at taking over land owned by all of us. There you go. Particularly galling was the juxtaposition of the Oregon verdicts, which involved armed militants, with the brutal treatment of unarmed activists fighting the Dakota Access Pipeline in North Dakota. Yes, really. Okay, here is the latest story in the flip-flopping by the EPA on this shit that I've mentioned in several rants. This shit called Enlist Duo. And now the EPA's latest move is to propose expansion of the toxic pesticide blend Enlist Duo. This week, the EPA proposed a dramatic expansion in the legal use of this pesticide, which would allow it to be used on corn, soy, and cotton in 35 states. There you go. As I've said, within a couple of years, we will be wishing for the good old days of Monsanto